All right. So first things first, right? Well, the first thing that happens is typically, like Joe said, a lead is either going to come in through Google or some sort of outside source, and it could be Google, it could be social media, it could be email. There's lots of different ways, right? So typically, we're going to go with the Google route because that's what most of our Hayden clients use, and that's what we recommend for most dog trainers as well. Is the Google Ads process. So before we get into the presentation, I'll talk about kind of like what that looks like. So first things first, a lead is going to go into your website. They're going to submit the form. If you're a Hayden client, typically what's going to happen is that lead is then going to go into your CRM. And within that CRM, you're going to get, the client who filled out that form is then going to get a text message immediately. That text is just going to basically just try to start that conversation, start that two-way communication. And once that once that initial text goes out, if there is a response from the client, we need to be getting that response like less than 3 minutes. The sooner we can have that back and forth, pretty much like your goal is to not have them put the phone down. So if they send, the initial text message goes out, they reply with, yeah, I'm interested in dog training, blah, blah, blah. I could probably hop on a phone call later today. Instead of waiting till later today and trying to call them, like we should immediately be texting them within 3 minutes to get them, a solid time on when we can set up a call. The faster we can communicate with leads, the smaller the time in between messages with leads, the better chance we're going to close them. If we're taking 15, 20 minutes to respond to these leads, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but that is an eternity for most of these people. Most of these people are already submitting 2, 3 forms on Google. They might have, somebody else that they've referred to them as a dog trainer. So they have a lot of different options. So if you're going to take time and 15, 20, 30 minutes to get back to them, you're no different than most people. And again, that's why it's a little bit harder to do this. But that's why that there are people who succeed and who are really good at doing this. And those are the business who are thriving right now. So getting back to your lead quick, 3 minutes is like starting to push it on my end. And that's why having the Hayden CRM when that lead comes in, just to have that initial one go out automatically is super. Just like you don't have to stay on your phone all the time. It makes things a lot easier. Once that lead comes in, though, that message goes out. Our whole goal then is to immediately get them on the phone, right? We don't want to stay texting too long. We don't want to just keep going back in text. As soon as we have that two-way communication and we're conversating with them, our whole objective then switches to now getting on the phone with them. And that I usually just call that like a phone call eval or a consultation, a free consultation. Some people have different words for it. But basically our goal is to then get on the phone call. And again, my whole goal of the phone call is to further the sales process. The next step in the sales process is getting that client in person with us. Each thing we're doing, we're increasing our chance of sales, right? Texting, if we're trying to close a deal over texting, it's the hardest way to do it, right? Email, texting, it's almost impossible to close deals over that. You might close 1 out of every 300. Phone call, we might close 5 out of every 100, right? But in person, we can get them to the 30, 40, 50 percentile. Now we're starting to get like a good percentile. So we want to be doing everything that we can to get to the best chance of closing that sale. It's not texting, it's not emailing, it's not phone calls, it's in person. So each thing we're doing is slowly trying to get that person to be in front of us. Text comes in, quick response. Quick response after that, now we're trying to get two-way communication. We're trying to have a conversation going. Once we have a conversation going through text, hey, let's hop on a phone call and chat. Now when we're on the phone call, now it's like we can get into a little bit of the problems, a little bit of what they have going on. But ultimately, our goal is to get them to the in-person eval. And we could say things like, hey, you have a lot of different things going on with your dog. At the end of the day, I want to be able to give you the best recommendation for your pup. And to do that, I really need to be able to see the dog in person with you, how it interacts with you, how it's going to interact with me. Because some dogs, they might warm up perfectly to me. I might be able to take the leash and be able to immediately go into training with them. Other dogs, I might have to warm them up and get them comfortable with me. So again, I'm not going to be able to give you a diagnosis and really help you unless I can see this dog in person. So I don't know if you picked up on what I did. I told them what I want. I want to see them in person, right? Not only did I just say, hey, I want to see you in person, I gave them a benefit. I told them why it's going to benefit them. I'm going to be able to give you the best diagnosis because I'm going to be able to see how the dog interacts with you, me, X, Y, and Z. That's their benefit. They're gonna be able to understand and put 2 and 2 together that, oh, this person is going to be able to actually see what the real root of my issue is, not just what I'm telling you. Like, I know, Kevin, you've heard this explanation before, but like, I love the doctor explanation, right? When you go to a doctor's, you guys need to look at yourself like doctors, right? When you go to a doctor's office, you don't just say, hey, I'm here, can you give me some Flexerol or some Percocet, whatever, right? You don't say that. You say, hey, I have some issues going on with my elbow or my back. I need you to take a look at me. Doctor immediately goes into diagnosis mode. All right, well, what is exactly hurting you? Well, does it hurt when you do this? Same thing with dog trainers. Okay, well, what's exactly happening when your dog is being reactive? Is it when you're on the leash? Is it when it's kennel? Like, there's no difference between you being a doctor and being a dog trainer. You're trying to diagnose this client's problems in front of you. That way you can give them, the prescription that's going to help them the most. So that's how I kind of like to look at like the sales process, right? We want to do things that are going to increase our probability, and we want to look at things like a doctor. We want to look at things as like, how can we actually help you, and not just like listen to the client and just basically be like, okay, yeah, that works. The client says they don't want to do a board and train, they want to do a private lesson. Okay, cool, let's do a private lesson. You can do that, but like at the end of the day, is that really what's going to help them? If it is, then like rock with it for sure. But if you feel like ultimately like this dog is reactive, this dog is biting people, this dog they want off leash, like that's not going to happen with 4 private lessons. If you go to a doctor and you say, hey, I want this, and the doctor's like, dude, that's not going to fix your problems. Like, he's not going to give you that. He's going to straight up tell you like, no, like ultimately I understand that that's what you want, but to actually fix your problem, to fix your solution, to fix the reason why you're here in front of me today, we have to do this. It's going to take X, Y, and Z. It's going to take this. So be the professional, be the doctor, right? Be the one who's giving the prescription, the diagnosis, and don't let the other client, or the client kind of like force you or guide you through the process. It's your process. You're the professional. All right. So let's go to the Hayden X sales process. This is what it looks like for dog trainers through the actual like step-by-step, right? So this is more so once the client is in front of you. Once they're in person, once you have them at the in-person eval, whatever the case is, that person walking through the door, this is kind of where you're starting with, right? Icebreaker, building report, discovery, presenting solution. I'm going to go into in these deeper, but I just want to kind of glaze over them. Presenting the solution, asking for the business, and then next steps. Has anybody seen anything similar to this or heard? I know, Kevin, you have. We've worked together, but have you, the other guys, seen anything similar to this or ever used like a process like this in sales?
Yeah, not that detailed, but that's pretty much what I do.
Okay, awesome. So I like to have this, like a lot of people have something similar, like they kind of just flow through naturally. I like to have this this process, because if you ever get stuck in the sales process, if you really like have this like memorized in the back of your head, like you can close your eyes and you can recite each step and you know what each step is. No matter where you are in the sales process, if they throw you a crazy curveball, if I don't know, I just thought of this. If you're having an eval and the glass in your store breaks and shatters, like you're not going to get lost, right? You're going to have something to revert back to. No matter what's going on around you, you'll be able to revert back to what you know. If you don't know things, it becomes way harder. You start stuttering, you start getting nervous, you start missing things. So again, the more we can have this memorized, the more we can know it like the back of our hand, the more it's going to set us up for success. So let's start with Icebreaker. Icebreakers, they pretty much explain themselves, but basically it's just how I like to explain it is it's starting off the conversation with anything besides business, right? My goal is to get them smiling and laughing and like having it and like joking before we start talking business. I want to be having a good time before we even get to the sales part, or like where I got to ask for money, right? That's always like the worst part, is when that money comes up. So if we already haven't had like a good relationship, if things have already been like very stiff and like they're not engaging with me, they're not laughing, it's just like we can tell like nobody's having a good time. And now I'm about to tell this person they're going to need to pay me $4,000. Good luck getting that. But if we're having a good ass time, everyone's enjoying themselves, they're understanding like what I'm offering, and we're just, like I said, we're just being like a friends, like a big happy family. And you drop that price, the trust is already there. They already see your energy. They know, they've seen you working with the dog. Like a lot of these steps have already been checked off the list. Your chances of closing them are up so much more versus if it's a very like stagnant and dry conversation. Pretty much like if I can have my clients laughing and things like that, I'm like, all right, I'm over halfway there. Like I'm already like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to close this person. So some of the things you can do in those icebreakers, establishing common ground, sports teams, food, clothing, like all this stuff. If you see them wearing a hat you like whatever the case is. Guys, one of the sneaky, not sneaky, but like one of the things I see works best on men is cologne. Like if men is wearing a cologne, like I will always compliment a guy on their cologne because I'm a big like cologne person. I love colognes. So anytime I see a guy or smell a guy that's like wearing like some really nice cologne, compliment them, especially like in a sales situation, like boost their ego, gets them off guard a little bit. It's a great way to ice break with guys. Women, same thing, hair, jewelry, nails, clothes, food. Did you get something to eat on your way here? Like things like that are great ways to start the conversation. This is probably the most important though, showing enthusiasm. If all those things that I just said, if I'm like, hey, are you, did you eat here already? Is it like, is it cool? Like that's dead. Like that's going to be so miserable for the client to sit through. So show enthusiasm, be happy, be excited that they're there. This is somebody who's willing to support you in your business and you're about to change their life and their dog's life, right? Be excited about that. After icebreaker, these two kind of flow right into each other, right? If we're doing a good icebreaker, we should flow right into building rapport. The icebreaker almost is going to be building rapport for us. So if we're struggling or if we're not, we're not getting those laughs, things like that, we can start to ask them a little bit more personal questions, right? We can start to talk about their dogs, why they got a dog to begin with, what are their goals with their dogs? What do they like to do? What were their idea? Like when they first got the dog, what did they envision? Things like that. Those are really good questions to ask to get them talking and to get to understand them as a person, right? They're a client when they walk through the door, but our goal is to understand them as a person. The more we can do that, the better that our chances are of connecting with them and selling them. Showing empathy, right? Showing that you genuinely care. We really do care about, like, I hope everyone here, truly cares about the dogs. That is like why we should be doing this. And if we are, then like show that energy to the client. That really gives off a lot of positive energy and confidence for the client. If they feel like you don't care about their dog, you better believe they're not going to leave their dog with you. That's their child, right? So show the empathy, let the client see the empathy as well. Maybe share a relatable story, right? If the client is struggling with something, share a story that you went through. Why did you get into dog training? Everybody has a great story of why they got into dog training. This one dog was terrible. They was destroying their life, whatever the case is. Like, talk about that story, right? Connect with them there. All right. So after that, then we're going to get into discovery. This is, in my opinion, the most important step of the entire process. Without a strong discovery, we don't know what the hell to do. We don't know what we're doing, and there's no direction for us. With a strong discovery, the opposite is true. If we know exactly what what the heck happened? If we know exactly what their needs are, what their issues are, what they're struggling with, what their pain points are, we can give them a perfect package or a perfect solution to like what they're struggling with. As long as we're like a dog trainer, a good dog trainer, we can understand like, oh, well, you have this issue going on. Yep, I can fix it with that solution. Or you have X, Y, and Z going on. I can fix it with this. Without knowing their problems, though, we can't give them any valuable direction, right? So our discovery should truly be about figuring out what their struggles and what their needs are. And this part of this process should take, 15, 20 minutes, right? We should be diving deep into this. We should be really like, when they say, oh, well, my dog Fluffy, yeah, the main reason I want training is because, when I take her on walks, she's barking at neighbors, she's barking at other dogs when I walk by. Okay, cool. We could just leave it there, right? We know that's probably some reactivity going on, maybe a little bit of resource guarding, who knows? We could leave it there, or we could dig deeper. Hey, so tell me a little bit more about that. Is it every time you're on leash? Is it when she's seeing squirrels? Like what is it? Have you tried anything? Have you tried like walking with treats and rewarding her as she's doing good on the walk? Like, have you tried correcting her when she's not? Like, what have you tried? Talk to me a little bit about that. Dive deeper, right? We don't want surface level stuff. Surface level stuff is what every other trainer in the world is going to do. Hey, yeah, we're just, you do that. Okay, cool. We're just going to press this button on this e-collar and cool. And we're going to call it a day, right? That's what most trainers are going to do. We want to be the ones who actually are helping understand the root and solving that root problem for the client. So digging deep into the needs. Also qualifying the client, right? Is this a good client for you? Not only like, do we need to know the dog's problems and the owner's problems, but like, is this a client for us? Like, is this somebody that we're going to work well with? Because at the end of the day, like, if we can help the dog, that's great. But it's not just about training the dog. It's about training the person too. And if we can't see how or if we can train that person, then chances are like most of the training we do for the dog is probably not going to be very effective. Because cool, we can work the dog. We can get the dog to get into a sit. We can get the dog to go to place. But like can the owner? That's the real question. And in the discovery, if we can't see how we can work effectively with that client, then maybe that's not the right client for us, because we're going to get the money from them. They're probably going to not be happy. They're going to say the results aren't working because their dog doesn't listen to them because they didn't listen to your instructions. It's just never a good thing, right? So if we can't see how we can work with the client, or if the client is a good fit for us, then we should probably be digging deeper into discovery to find out if we can work with them. Listen and take notes, right? There's no harm in having some notes, having an iPad or a clipboard with some paper and pencil and writing stuff down. Honestly, when I have somebody and I'm on a call with somebody for my business and I see them doing that, I'm actually like more inclined. I'm like, oh, this person's like actually putting the effort. Like they're actually like trying to understand truly, and they're making sure they don't miss anything. I like it when I see that. When somebody doesn't have notes, they're not writing notes, I'm like, damn, there's no way they're going to remember all this stuff. There's no way they're going to like pay attention to everything I'm talking about. After the discovery, we should have all the information we need, right? We should know all the information about the dog. We should know all the information about the owner. We should know if possibly, if they can afford this. We should know if they're going to put the effort in. Are they going to be better fit for a board and train? Do they have time to drive to private lessons? Like all these things we should already know. And once we have an answer to all those questions, now we can be the professional and give the prescription or give the diagnosis. And that's where the presentation comes in. That's when we say, all right, we've listened to everything. We've heard everything. Now it's time for me to give my personal recommendation into what I think is going to help best. And again, that's going to be different for every single dog. And that's why offering a little bit of like customability in your packages and things like that is beneficial. It makes clients feel like you're custom tailoring these packages for them, because you're not just saying, oh, I have a blanket, I have a blanket statement that's going to fix all this. No, I'm actually building this custom program to fit you and your dog's needs. So present the solution that's going to work best for them, whether it's a board and train, hybrid, private lesson, whatever the case is. Highlight the benefit. So talk about, like, again, anytime we want something from the client, in this case, we want them to take the board and train option, or we want them to take the private lessons option, we got to tell them why. We got to give them a benefit. So for the board and train, hey, we're going to be able to take full control. We're going to be able to control almost all of the variables out of the equation. We're going to be able to focus in, all the areas of need that you needed. Or it's private lessons, like the benefit could be like, hey, you're not going to have to get to leave your dog. You're not going to have your dog stay away from your family and your kids for weeks. You're going to be able to sleep at night with them, but you're still going to be able to get the same effects from training if you were at a board and train, something like that. Give them the benefit to it as well. Address any specific pain points. So during a discovery, we should be trying to find the struggles, find what is like really irking these people's nerves. Why did this person call me? Why is this person like pulling their hair out because of this dog? Those are the things we really need to know, because when we present our solution, we can tap on those things again. After we've presented everything, there's one thing I like to do after I present everything. It's very simple, and it's just check in. After you do your presentation, you talk about, hey, this is the board and train. This is why I think it's going to be good. It's going to, solve these issues, X, Y, and Z. Ask the client, how does that sound? You can say it lots of different ways. It doesn't have to be how does it sound, but just have it flow, right? And basically your whole goal, again, you can change the wording, but your whole goal with this is to see, does this package, does this solution that I'm presenting you match up with what you envisioned when you came here today? And did they come here today thinking that they were going to get, a super high protection level dog? And then I tell them the private lesson, the 2-week private lesson, those aren't going to add up, right? Those aren't going to add up. They're going to immediately say no. And we're going to be like, all right, well, sounds like I didn't do my job. I need to go back to my discovery, figure out what the client needs, figure out why they're here, and tap into that. Because obviously what I just presented was not what they wanted at all. Or if you did your job, you did a good discovery, they're going to say yes. Yeah, the board and trains, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I would love for Fluffy to be able to off-leash heel and do this and X, Y, and Z, right? They're going to say yes. As soon as you get that yes, is when you present your price. They say yes, okay, great. So the board and train, typically that's going to run around $4,000. We do pickups on Tuesday and Wednesday. What day is going to work best for you? Right? I didn't ask, hey, our board and trains is $4,000. Is that too much for you? I didn't ask that. I didn't leave it at just the price. I said, hey, our board and train is going to be around $4,000. We do pickups on Monday and Wednesday. What day works best for you? I'm kind of glazing over the price a little bit, and I'm getting to the next steps. What is going to work best for you in terms of drop off, right? They've just confirmed with me that the package that I told them is the package that they want. It's going to solve their problems. So we should be assuming the sale, right? They just verified exactly why they're here. I gave them the solution. They say, yes, that's going to work for me. No different than when you go to the doctor and they say, hey, all right, I'm going to give you the prescription for, Tylenol 300. Is that all for you? You're going to be like, yeah, that's going to fix my backache, or that's going to fix my thing. Or you're going to be like, no, I don't need Tylenol. I need, psych meds or whatever, right? Immediately you're going to be able to correct that doctor, and no different the client in front of you is going to do. They're going to either say yes or no. If they say yes, you did a good discovery, you understand their needs, and now you can talk about price. If they say no, we go back to the discovery and do everything over again. So they say yes. Great. We present the price. We present the next steps, whether that be like drop off days, pickup days, whatever the case is. This is also where the objection is going to come from, right? This is also where they're going to be like, well, that price is a little too high for me. Or, well, I really need to talk to my wife. And for me, I feel like a failure immediately as soon as I hear those, because I'm like, damn, I should have found those in the discovery. I should have saw this coming, right? In the discovery, I always ask, hey, who's the decision maker here? Who's going to be the one primarily working with the dog? Is it going to be you, or is it going to be like you and the wife, or you and the husband? That way, they're going to immediately tell me like, all right, it's going to be a joint decision. It's going to be the husband and the wife. Okay, cool. I really like to make sure that both parties are involved, because again, if we're having multiple people work the dog, we all need to be on the same page. So let's have an in-person eval when both parties can be there, that we can all make a decision together. We never want to split the parties, because anytime we do that, it's an easy objection to say, hey, I need to go talk to that other person. And if you're not skilled with truly like handling that objection, your best bet is to try to nip it in the bud and not allow that objection to come up. And to do that is to have all parties who are making the decision to be present during the in-person eval, or to be present whenever you're going to be asking for money. Same thing for price objection. Handling objections is a definite skill. It takes a lot of practice. And if you haven't practiced a lot of like different ways to overcome objections, and honestly, like, I mean, like sitting in the mirror, looking at yourself, talking to yourself, it's really uncomfortable sometimes, but that's the best way to practice them. YouTube is a great source. You can find a lot of like different like word tracks and things like that on like how to overcome objections. ChatGPT is another really good one. If you're seeing like objections and certain things, you can ask ChatGPT, hey, give me different word tracks to overcome this objection. But the main thing is comfort. If you're not comfortable saying it and you look like it's scripted, it's not going to work for you. So I can't just tell you in a word track to use, because everyone is different and everyone speaks a little differently. What's going to work for me isn't going to work for you, Vicky, isn't going to work for you, Kevin. So everyone has to find something that's going to work for them and rehearse it until it sounds smooth and fluid. But again, our goal is to not even get these objections. Our goal is to find these things out in the discovery so that we can like kind of like work around them, right? If we already know, if I ask somebody, hey, what do you do for work? And they tell me that, they work at McDonald's, probably not going to be able to afford a board and train, right? Just being honest. Depending on how serious and how important their dog is to them, they can maybe squeeze $1,000. They might be able to do, like some private lessons or whatever. But again, if we do a good discovery, we know that. Why would we present something that they can't afford? We're just setting ourselves up for an objection to be given to us. All right, and then next steps. Next steps, super easy, right? Next steps should be implemented anytime you communicate with the client. Anytime you have to stop communication and come back, a couple of days later, whatever the case is, next steps needs to be talked about. So if a client, says, hey, I need to talk to the wife, right? We couldn't overcome it. We didn't do a great enough discovery, and they came with only one party, and now they need to go back and talk to the wife. Instead of just saying, okay, and just letting them go, set up a date. Hey, completely understand. I would need to talk to the wife as well. Let's do this. I know you guys are going to have a bunch of questions after you guys talk. So what's today? Today's Tuesday. Let's set up a call for Thursday. That'll give you guys a couple of days to talk. And then Thursday, after you guys have had your conversation, we can all three come together and I can answer any questions that have came up after you guys have talked. How does like Thursday at like 7 p.m. work? They're gonna give you that. They're almost everyone is gonna be like, yeah, like let's do that. Now you have like a solid follow up. Now instead of them just leaving and you having to like cold call and be like, hey, are you interested still? And they're like, no, we found somebody. You have already set up like a hard date for them to for them to expect your follow up. The chance of you closing them is so much higher if you just like let if you versus if you just let them go out of your door and don't set this date up. So set the logistics, set up timing, set up how you're going to communicate. Hey, it's going to be a Zoom call, it's going to be a phone call, whatever the case is. Even if they do sell, right? Even if they do buy, we still have to do this. Hey, well, we can do pickup on X, Y, and Z date. Or hey, you know, we're going to need, you know, you're going to have to drop off leash, you're going to have to drop off food, whatever. Whether they sell or whether they don't sell, we have to provide next steps. And we almost always provide them with when they sell, right? It's very easy for us to do that because there's processes that have to happen after that. What we don't do is when they don't sell. And I see this all the time where clients just like or sales people just like let the client go without setting up next steps because they told them no. Instead, just find a way to lock in the next contact. Set up another appointment, right? Again, provide the benefit. If we want something, we want to set up another call with them, we got to provide a benefit to them. And again, that could be like, hey, I know you're going to talk to the wife. You guys are going to have questions. I want to be able to provide as best answers that I can. After you guys have a conversation, let's set up a call for Thursday. That way we can all get on the same page for Fluffy's benefit, you know, something like that. And then stay connected, right? Don't just ghost them, especially if it's like a week out. If it's like a week out, don't just say that and then don't ever contact them until the day of. Shoot them a text throughout the week. Hey, I know we have a call in a few days. Just wanted to shoot over text, make sure everything is good. There's nothing I can do like right at this moment, right? You know, you're not having a midlife crisis or the dog's not going through like craziness right now. Just check in. Just make sure everything's good. Don't try to be salesy, right? Don't try to like, hey, you know, are you ready to buy? Genuinely check in. So that's the sales process. That's the main thing I wanted to cover tonight. I have some recap or some like final like notes and things like that. When we are speaking to clients, it is extremely important that we are speaking clearly, concisely, and confidently. If we are jumbling words, if we are not sounding confident, if we're talking really quiet and not really with like projecting our voice, like a lot of that just conveys that you're not confident in your product or your service. So be direct, be clear, but also like don't be too aggressive because sometimes I've had salespeople that I've trained where they have so much energy that they can kind of like turn people off. It's like, oh, bro, you're especially in the morning. Like I'm not a morning person. When people come at me with that energy, I'm like, bro, leave me alone. Leave me alone right now. So just energy match, right? If the client comes in high energy, try to match their energy a little bit. If they're more low energy, match it a little bit, but bring it up. Try to bring it up a little bit. Mm, nah. All right, that's it for tonight. So what did you guys think? Did you guys get anything out of that? I saw you guys taking some notes. That's good.
Yeah, just for me, it kind of goes through everything pretty much that I do. So it gives me good feedback that I'm doing something right. Just a little bit more details or some of the way you frame the questions were good.
Yeah, it really comes down to sales is like a really fluid thing, right? It's not something that there's just like one answer for, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I like it so much. Is there's so many different ways to get to a solution, and everyone can kind of have their own little touch and put their own little spin on things. And the people who do that, the people who actually put their own like their touch on things are usually the most successful people. The people who just try to like replicate and like just go on YouTube and just like save word for word what Andy Elliott or like Alex Hormozy says. I mean, you're gonna get stuff, you're gonna pick up stuff, but versus you like taking that stuff, truly like digesting it, and then like you putting your own spin on things, that's how it's gonna be the most effective. When you can say something and it truly sounds like your voice coming out and not somebody else's, it's very clear. It's very clear to clients.
So can I ask a question really quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
The biggest thing that I have a problem with is flowing from talking about their dog into the sale. Do you have any like segue tips to that? Like,
Yeah.
because people could talk about their dog for hours, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's trust me, I know that they will go on and on and
Mhm.
on and on. So first thing you do is you're gonna want to set the precedence like at the beginning of the interaction, right? If it's an in-person thing or if it's a phone call, it doesn't matter. You're gonna kind of do the same thing. You're gonna set the precedent. So you're gonna say, hey, whatever their name is. So today, what our overall objective is gonna be to hear about your dog, to talk about kind of like what's going on in your life with the dog's life, what your issues are. And then after I hear a little bit about that, we're going to go into like my recommendations for what's going to help best for training. So you're giving them basically like a quick game plan, right? So that way, when they get off track, and you can honestly say it too. You can honestly say, hey, and if we do get a little off track, like I'll make sure that we stay on track with what we're trying to accomplish today. So that way, if they are getting off track, if they do start talking about their dog way too much, what I like to do to interject is I like to really start listening to just any break, right? Any break that they give you at all, you kind of like jump in there and agree with them. Or you jump in, oh yeah, you know what? I just had a dog that was doing that the other day. But, speaking of that, getting back on track with, what we're trying to do, it sounds like Fluffy is going through, a lot of reactivity, a lot of blah, blah, blah. And now you're back in control, right? You can recap a little bit, but you're back in control. You're back in the driver's seat of the conversation. And that's really typically all you need to do. Just wait for those little micro breaks in their speech, whatever it is, and just like jump in and agree with them or laugh or like something. Get them to stop their conversation or their flow a little bit, and then just jump in, agree, laugh, whatever the case is, and take back control. Is that something you think you do?
Totally.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's a tricky one. Sometimes I've been in situations with clients where and I know these things. I'm like, damn, like there's nowhere to jump in. Like I'm struggling. Like I'm struggling to find a spot. And so sometimes if it's over the phone, it's easier because you can be like, hey, wait, 1 second. You're breaking up a little bit. Oh, okay. I can hear you back. Just to confirm though, what I'm hearing is, and now you're back in control, right? Same thing on Zoom. You can do the same thing over a Zoom call. Oh, wait, hold on, my camera. All right, okay. I think we're back now. Sorry about that. And now you're back in control.
Gotcha.
A little bit harder, but just again, just listen to those micro reflexes, those quick, tone changes or whatever the case is that you can interject in there.